Okay, in about a minute, I'm going to jump into the usual video, but right after I finished filming, I got an update, and it felt like I should probably do a little bit of a new intro. The good news is it does give me the opportunity to talk about a few other things that I kind of forgot to give you a heads up on. So let's go ahead and jump into this, starting with Voidfall. We're going to go into all the Kickstarters in a minute. I have the usual video. This is just going to be the first one that I'm covering because they announced it right after I finished filming. Voidfall is going to be coming out September 28th. This is going to be the newest game by Mindclash Game. This is going to be their entry into the 4X genre, and it's going to be a big one, boys and girls. It's going to be a big Kickstarter, no question whatsoever. I mean, this is Mindclash, and it's Mindclash with a 4X game. This is one where I felt it was worth doing a full video, well, not full video, an additional minute on entryway to the other video so that we can go ahead and cover it. But that's going to be Voidfall, September 28th, coming there. Additionally, while we have you, some small little notes. Chip Theory Games just announced a pre-announcement. They announced the announcement that's going to be coming September 21st. Something this way comes. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's more Too Many Bones. Maybe it's something new. It's probably more Too Many Bones, but who really knows? We'll find out September 21st. This is me announcing that they announced the pre-announcement that will be coming up. So, whole lot of announcements about the announcement. And then lastly, just a few little notes while I have you here. Mythic Mischief is going to be launching on GameFound on August 31st. Make sure to hit that follow button on the screen over there, because if you do, you'll get a little pin, a little handy dandy pin you can clip onto your shirt. So just hit follow, and I think you actually have to back the game too. But if you hit follow, you'll get a little pin. So if you want to back the game, may as well follow and get the freebie, because it costs you nothing except for the little clicking on the link. And then past that, speaking of things that you want to be mindful of, also on August 31st, we're going to have Tanares RPG launching, and this is not giving you a small little pin for following the page. This, if you back day one, is going to be giving you this gigantic day one dragon that's otherwise going to cost you $30. So if you want, let me see how far I can scroll down this page. This is their pre-launch page. They have their picture. Here we go. Free day one. Instead of being a $29, you're going to get this dragon compared to this little miniature. Yes, you can also pay to make it pre-painted, but make sure to back that day one, even if you're on the fence. If you're on the fence at all, go ahead and back it. I will have a should you back it covering the campaign, so we'll have all of that stuff. But there's plenty of board game content in this RPG adventure, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. And then as well, on those notes and subjects, we also have a giveaway that they are doing. They have a giveaway where it's an insane giveaway. Basically, you have to go over here to this link. I'll throw that link down below, like everything else, and you can go ahead and enter to win a complete collection of 5e books, the Tanares RPG for 5e, plus choose any 3 board games. They have fine print, so you can't choose like 3 copies of Kingdom Death Monster, which I absolutely would otherwise, but you can choose Tanares and Kingdom Death Monster and something else. I don't know the full fine print, but this is an insane giveaway. Granted, lots of ways that you won't win, so unlike the Mythic Mischief follow and the day one back on the dragon, this is more of a, toss a coin to your Witcher and hope for the best. But that is basically all the pre-launch stuff, and with that, we are going to go and head into our other video right about now. Hey, it's Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and instead of our usual to back or not to back, it's a light week for Kickstarter, so instead, we'll be doing upcoming Kickstarters for September, and that is not light at all, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what exactly you're looking for. But before we go ahead and dive into each individual one, my usual reminder that if you want the most up-to-date information, make sure to subscribe to Shelf Clutter. He has a weekly video every single week that goes through all the Kickstarters that are, coming up. His information is almost always more accurate because it's more recent. He covers more Kickstarters. I tend to focus more on ones that at least have a little bit of a following. He tends to cover everything just to make sure you have all your bases covered. And then, of course, things change throughout the month, so the dates change, cancellations happen, things get moved around, and we just find out more things. Even this video that I'm doing now, literally within the, last hour, I added 2 new ones to this list. Kickstarter is ever evolving. Oh, and yes, we will have a game found as well. But with that out of the way, with all that everything, let's go ahead and jump into it. There's going to be, like I said already, a lot of Kickstarters to cover, starting with Green Hell, the board game. This is going to be September 1st. This is one, and in general, dates are rough. They may change or adjust or whatever, but this is going to be September 1st. Green Hell, the board game. This is going to be coming back to Kickstarter. You may have remembered that this was in Kickstarter. This is on Kickstarter in August. They unfortunately had to cancel. The price point was a little high. They're getting pushed back. Lots of, I mean, again, it was doing decently. Don't get me wrong, but they did have enough pushback. They decided to take a look, see what they can do, lower the pricing, and come back to Kickstarter with more buzz, more hype, more whatever. I expect this will fund. Even the original Kickstarter was on its way towards funding. This is just a question of, can they get it to do better? Can they get more of an audience? Can they tempt people a little bit more with the game, with the price point, with all of that? This is a survival game. Survival game, you're going to be in the jungle trying to accomplish your objectives, based on the video game as well. So that's going to be Green Hell, coming September 1st. Then we have Old Breed South Pacific. This is the newest Band of Brothers game. This is going to be coming September 4th. And this one's going to be, well, it's going to be another squad-based World War II game in the Band of Brothers line of games. That's not my genre, to be very frank. Band of Brothers, World War II, squad-based combat, cutting off little chits or whatever. Not my genre. I don't know much more about the gameplay on this one, past the fact that it's another Band of Brothers squad-based World War II-based game. They have a new aspect, a new mechanic they're bringing to the table, something to do with being pinned down or whatever. I don't know enough about the gameplay. Then, this next batch of games for like the next 7 of these are going to be September 7th. We have 11 Football Manager board game. 11 is going to be, well, it's going to be on GameFound. This is the first of a few we have on GameFound. I don't know exactly. We don't actually have a ton of GameFounds this time around, but we do still have some. But 11 Football Manager board game. This is going to be by the same person who brought you. See, I remember this before the game started. It's going to be a designer who has a bunch of games under his belt. One in particular is very hard to get. This is one that if you missed it, in fact, a whole bunch of games on this list, something that Jeremy Howard and myself had a video we did together. I'll link to that down below. We just did it like a week ago, and it covers all the games that we're excited about that are coming to Kickstarter. Games that we've either played or we just know enough that we're hyped, we're interested, we are following. And 11 was very much on Jeremy Howard's list. He covered that one, and it's one that he's excited about. This is going to be more about the management of your team than the actual playing of the sport. So obviously, you know, factoring in how much do you care about the theme, how much do you just want the mechanics of the game, both those are going to be factors. For myself, I'd rather personally the management of a sport than the actual playing of the sport, although that can vary. I guess it depends on the mechanics and the game. Weird tangent to go down. But either way, this is going to be 11 coming to GameFound. This is going to be from Portal Games, and the designer whose name I apologize, I don't remember the game. I don't remember the game that you had. It was like the Clubhouse? Does that sound right? Clubhouse? Maybe it was Clubhouse. Either way, moving on. The next one on September 7th is going to be the Artemis Odyssey. This is going to be from Bruno Veduti and Sergei Leggett. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is going to be the spiritual successor to the Artemis Project, a game that already came out from Grand Gamers Guild. Now, I have the Artemis Project. I have not played the Artemis Project. The Artemis Odyssey is going to be a typical is probably the wrong word, but it's a standard resource management game in which you're going to be combining the aspects of resource management, of trying to build up your resources, get yourself out onto various planets, and then play cards that will get you rewards for being on the planet. So it's kind of think Catan, where you want to be on brick, on clay. When that resource is generated, you'll benefit. But you're not going to be rolling dice like you would in Catan. Rather, in this game, you're going to be playing cards down into a row, similar to a Race for the Galaxy. You're going to have phase selection in the game. You're going to have that aspect of choosing what phase occurs, how it affects all the players, choosing one of the things. So every card is going to have multiple choices on them. So you're not just choosing the card, but you're also choosing within the card how it's going to benefit yourself and others. And there's going to be both the benefits for yourself and the peripheral benefits that others tend to get along the way. You're going to be traveling to new planets, you're going to be gathering new alien artifacts, and ultimately the main point of the game is to build up your resource engine such that you can get the most points by playing scoring cards when it is most advantageous for yourself. That's going to be the Artemis Odyssey, coming to Kickstarter September 7th. Then we have EOS Island of Angels. This is a good example of things constantly changing. This is one that I covered maybe 3 months ago, something like that, where EOS Island of Angels was coming to Kickstarter. It's going to be from King Raccoon Games, same people who bought you Sanko Sushin? Is that what it is? No, I'm forgetting the name. There's a name. They have games that they've done. But either way, This is going to be Eos Island of Angels from King Raccoon Games. That it is Sanko Sushin 5 Sacrifices. No, it's not. It's something else entirely. Either way, this is going to be handled by King Raccoon and Grey Fox Games. Eos Island of Angels is a game about navigating your ship around the islands, trying to manage your crew, your asymmetric crew, as you level up your abilities by doing this ability to generate that ability, which will ping that ability. You're trying to be constantly building up your crew and activating and improving their various skills, but you kind of want to improve upon everything. Along the way, you're going to be fighting both miniatures demons as well as these much worse demons that you have to kind of kill and deal with, and those are going to get you closer towards winning, as will Raising Angels. It is literally a game of angels and demons in this game, and all but trying to figure out the best way to improve your own personal tableau in this asymmetric game, while slowly moving around the islands, fighting demons and raising angels. Angels, by the way, those abilities they give you are going to be super cool, but this is coming to you, I believe this is September 7th as well. Moving on, we have Solosphere, Harness the Power of the Stars. This is going to be by, I believe, a first-time publisher, Duranda Games. This is going to be, Solosphere is going to have, well, speaking of Catan, they actually have a kind of Catan grid going on in the game. That is neither here nor there, but it's going to be a game of dice rolling and assigning your dice to various objectives, a little bit of set collection, a little bit of trying to build out the Solosphere in this game. It has one mechanic that I find particularly fascinating, the idea of morale, which is thematically tied in in a way that I thought was beautiful. Basically, like many dice games, think games like Kingsbridge, and other games, you're going to roll a bunch of dice to assign them to various actions. So having variability in your dice can be good, because that means you have more variability of the actions you can take. What the game does well that I thought was very thematically cute is the idea that if you roll the same dice, the more dice that are the same, the more you get morale points, because your units, your troops, your workers all in cohesion. They're acting as one unit. So they're more in line with what they're trying to do, so you get morale benefits to offset the fact that you don't have the variability of where you can necessarily go. It's a cute little tie-in, small little sub-point of the game. Ultimately, it's dice rolling and resource generating and set collection and trying to take down various enemies, all while building out the Solosphere. In Solosphere, Harness the Power of the Stars. Moving on, we have Agemonia. Agemonia from Latapoli, I think that's how you say it, but this is going to be the same publisher that brought you Eclipse, and Agemonia is going to be, I think it's Agemonia. Agemonia is going to be a game of exploration. I highly recommend, maybe I'll link to it down below, Board Game Coffee. Manifesting People also has a video on it as well, but Board Game Coffee has their Board Game Coffee Espresso, which is like a 5-minute video series where they, in short, go over all the high points of the game. I know that he has particularly been enjoying this game, diving down into this dungeon crawler-esque game of story, of campaign, of rolling dice. I don't actually know if you roll dice. I think you roll dice. I don't recall if you roll dice. But either way, this is going to be Agemonia, which has how many people? We have 3,500 people following this campaign. That is not bad at all. And moving on, we have Dungeons of Infinity. Now, this, what you're seeing on the page, is not actually the relevant page at all. This is going to be launching September 7th as well, and this is going to be coming to you from Sky Kingdom Games, the same people who brought you the Stonebound Saga and the Isofarian Guard most recently. The Isofarian Guard, very excited for that one. But either way, Dungeons of Infinity is a game that was previously on Kickstarter from Jack Sporner, as a own personal pet project that he brought, funded with 1,000 backers and $42,000. And Dungeons of Infinity, or Sky Kingdom Games, acquire the rights to the game, and they are re-bringing it back to Kickstarter. I don't know what changes they're making, but I mean, the original game is cooperative, competitive, solo, story, campaign, all those different ways you can play the game, from single shot to the player count to the way the players interact with each other. But it's going to be a classic dungeon crawl game, where you have your stat sheet, your way you're going to level up your characters, the way you're going to interact as you explore the dungeon and find bodies and interact with the dungeon, either in one-shot modes or in terms of the story. So I don't know what it's doing necessarily special or different that makes it unique. I don't have that level of deep dive knowledge into it, but it's a dungeon crawler. If you're interested in them in general, maybe this one's worth taking a look at. Moving on, we have Tournament Fishing, the deck building game. Did I just drop I almost dropped my coin. Tournament Fishing, the deck building game, is going to be September 7th as well. It's going to be coming to you from the Gaming Goat Games. They are both a game store, but they've also started doing Kickstarters. Their last one was the Mob one. I don't remember what it's called, but there was a Mob game that I'm blanking on the name. But Tournament Fishing, the deck building game, is going to be a reprint of a I believe it was previously a print and play deck building game, and they're deluxifying it out, making it look much more visually beautiful. This is going to be a deck building fishing game, one where you're simulating either solo or competitively. I think there's a cooperative 2-player mode as well, but you're simulating fishing for fish. You're going to try to be building out the various equipment you get from the fishing hooks, from the bait you use, from the various equipment like the boats or the radar to find different fish. Whole bunch of stuff. It's going to go through phases of trying to find your fish, then actually hooking the fish, then fighting the fish, and then buying out various supplies as you go through the game, one phase at a time, hour by hour, trying to gather as many fish as possible in this deck building, in this fish collecting deck building game. This is one that I actually have played. Not as much for me. It's a little more heavily on the different ranges of luck they have, but very thematically well done. Beautiful cards, and I can see why it's got its solid ratings as a print and play game. Moving on, we have The Spill. This is going to be the last one for September 7th. The Spill from Smirk and Dagger Games, a cooperative game about cleaning up oil, basically. It's going to be one where you have the oil spill and you're trying to figure out how to collectively clean up all the oil as efficiently as possible. I don't know the exact winning scoring conditions in this game, but an interesting, innovative theme. Not innovative necessarily, but a different theme than what we're typically used to seeing. This is going to be The Spill from Smirk and Dagger Games. Which brings us to all the stuff that's going to be September 14th, which is like a few things. There's like 4 things. We'll see. Either way, Altenor Secrets is going to be the first game from September 14th. This is going to be a game that I can't make heads or tails of where this game is going to end up. On the one hand, it has cool miniatures and dungeon exploration and combat that looks like it should and could be fun. On the other hand, the board, to me personally, looks drab as anything, and it looks like it basically has a, what's that game? Is it Catacombs? No, it's Labyrinth. The original Ravensburger game where Labyrinth, where you like push a tile and move it out the other side, and you push a tile and move it out the other side. This has that similar style of gameplay as you rotate the board so you can access different parts of this Catacombs, of this Labyrinth as you go through it. So again, can't make it out. Beautiful miniatures, beautiful art on some of the cards, gameplay that looks cool, but then to combine that with tiles that don't look cool and a labyrinth style gameplay, I'm very curious where this one ends up and what type of game it's going to be, coming to Kickstarter September 14th. Moving on, we have Master of the Universe, Clash for Eternia, the board game. Wow, people hate CMON games. It is so funny to me. You see this all the time with different companies. CMON gets the worst of it, but even companies like Awaken Realms, you'll put out games that are so well rated, so well loved, they have such a following to the companies, to the games, and then you'll have people hating on them. Sorry, got something in my throat there. You'll have people hating on them for like the silliest things. Like, I remember I put out my review. This is a complete tangent, sorry for this, but I put out a review of The Great Wall from Awaken Realms, and I talked about how much I loved the game and it was great, but I gave Awaken Realms a hard time because the rulebook could have been better, and in my opinion should have been better, and should have had more graphics and more whatever. But then I talk all in all about how good the game is, and the amount of people that focused on the rules about, oh yeah, garbage company, and oh yeah, they never learn, I'm never gonna get their games. I'm like, you could not get their games all you want, but you're missing out. People tend to see these larger companies, Awaken Realms, that used to once upon a time be the underdog, is now large enough that you can safely hate on them for being an amazing company with an amazing community. That's a weird tangent. I just find it funny when I go to a game that no one's played and see a 5.5 rating. But speaking of no one's played it, I actually have played Master of the Universe, Clash for Eternia, the board game. There's no images over here, unfortunately. There's nothing, I mean, there's that image, but that's kind of nothing. But either way, Quackalope has gameplay over on his channel. I actually have a gameplay with Rena, my wife, on my channel as well, if you haven't seen that, and I will have a review coming before the Kickstarter goes up on September 14th. That's when it's going up, September 14th. But yeah, that's going to be CMON's Master of the Universe. This one's going to be a big one because most CMON games with tons of miniatures and extras and stuff are. This is one that if you are new to Kickstarter, understand that the base pledge for Master of the Universe is going to be roughly $100. I'll have full videos on this, don't worry about that. But the base pledge is going to be roughly $100 for this game. And then you'll have the all-in, which will be like $350, maybe $300 if they're feeling reasonable. Depends on the playmats, the token packs, the giant castle skull, gray skull 3D thing that they have. Whole bunch of ways you can charge lots of money to a passionate audience that basically wants their toys. And this is what that is, the toys. Now, the good news is the miniatures will all end up pricing out to probably in the range of $1 to $2 a piece once you factor in the price and the amount of miniatures you get, which is significantly cheaper than buying your action figures at like $15, $20 a piece. So I guess everything's relative to compared to how you look at it. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't buy action figures. Either way, Master of the Universe Clash for Eternia is going to be coming to Kickstarter September 14th. Next up, we have Ambal Tournament, the Ambal Anime Tournament Foundation. This is going to be, I don't know if it's collectible or not, but it's going to be a card game, typical card game kind of situation where you have cards and powers and abilities and all these things as you build out your deck. And you do build out your deck. The thing that this one is bringing to the table that sounds different or potentially interesting or innovative or whatever it is going to be the idea that you play your cards simultaneously. I don't know exactly how that plays out, but you play your cards out simultaneously. Now, it's a 2 to 4 player game. Like most games in this genre, it probably is best at 2. Understand that I am projecting outwards to the genre and not to this specific game, but Ambal Tournament coming to you September 14th. Next up, we have Verdant. Now, this one's going to do well. What do we think? Do we think 672,000? No, higher. $743,000. That's what I'm predicting for Verdant from Flat Out Games, and that's because they have put out Calico, which people love and try to hunt down and get their hands on. Then they put out Calico, which again people love. They're fun, light games. They are not the best games in your collection, but they are solid, accessible, well done games. I just got my copies of Calico and Cascadia, and I'm looking forward to playing both those. They look beautiful, they're well rated, they're the kinds of games that I very much enjoy sitting down to, both with gamers as well as with casual audiences. They have that overlap in their games. And Verdant, which I'm disappointed doesn't start with a C, but Verdant looks like it's going to fall exactly in line with that, with art from Beth Sobel, and just a similar idea. You're going to have a card and a token as you try to position your plants to be exposed to the most sunlight as possible. So it's, again, they're going for the same thing. They have a genre of the types of games that they are putting out that has worked well for them, and they are smartly sticking to that genre, sticking to the types of games that their audience seems to love and enjoy. I mean, that cover art is just absolutely gorgeous. But that's going to be Verdant, coming to Kickstarter September 14th. Next up, we have Myth and Goal, which I believe is September 21st. This is where we bump up to September 21st in our line of games. Why am I missing one? I'm missing one that is earlier than this. I am missing Colab. Out of order, sorry for that. Colab from Portal Dragon Games is going to be September 16th, I believe. This is going to be a dice drafting game and this is one of those weird things. It's called Colab, which means you think, oh, there's a lab, it's a cooperative game. No, it's not a cooperative game. Rather, Colab, while not being cooperative, does have you working together in the lab. You see, each player is placing out their minions in the lab, and the minions will help you, but they're also going to help the other players. Now, you choose where they go, but the other players, as they run their experiments, can take advantage of their placement in the lab to generate resources, to generate actions, to help them build different things, because you're building out your card grid in the game. You're building out a variety of monsters, of potions, and of machines that will all work together to generate either the most in-game actions and sequences, or perhaps you're focusing more on points. It's a simultaneous two-part game. One where you're managing your lab, your resources, your generation, and one where you actually build out your unique engine or contraptions or beasts in your actual personal area. A very, very fun little puzzly game from Portal Dragon Games. Next up, September 21st, we have Myth and Goal from Blacklist Games. Now, this is one where I thought originally that they were doing a miniatures line combined with a board game, similar to the way they handled Lasting Tales, where you could buy the game, or you could buy the miniatures, or you could buy the miniatures with the game. I'm not getting that impression now. This one looks like it is going to be more straight up of a miniatures game. Again, I could be wrong. I'm just looking at the page and reading information and doing stuff like that. But this is going to be a 1 to 2 player game. That is a key word there. It's going to be a 1 to 2 player game. So 2 players is where it caps out, at least as of right now, without other content or whatever. But they very much do have a solo mode as you go through scenarios and develop your league and all that as you go through this game. Now, it looks like the base game is coming to you with 4 different factions. They have these little teasers for each of the factions, plus the cover art of the game itself. So it looks like we have 4 basic factions coming to the table. But then past that, we're going to see the miniatures from Blacklist Games. I'm looking forward. I'm intrigued by this game. I don't know if it's for me or not. I generally have gotten a lot of Blacklist Games. They haven't necessarily always, pushed me over the finish line, although I have not played Alter Quest. I really need to play Alter Quest. There's not enough time. There's not enough time in the day. Either way, this is going to be Myth and Goal coming to Kickstarter September 21st. Next up, we have Quests and Cannons, another game that Jeremy Howard and I talked about as far as games we were looking forward to. Quests and Cannons coming to Kickstarter September 21st. This is one that is going to be, let's see if we can scroll down, here we go. This is going to be an adventuring game on the high seas. It's going to be a game where you are ultimately trying to develop your boat and build your sails or your cannons or your cargo and then adventure around. A little bit of pick up and deliver, a little bit of combat at sea, a little bit of fulfilling quests. This is basically Merchants and Marauders abstracted downwards, taking out a lot of the complexity and giving it to you in an easy, quick, easy to absorb format for this game. This Quests and Cannons is going to be coming to you from Eric Geller from Short Hop Games. That's the name of the company. And it looks like it's not looks like I've played the game. It is a fun, accessible, easy to dive into game. It's running very much in the vein of Catan style accessibility. Probably a notch up in terms of the complexity, but it's one where you're going to have your boat, run around the islands, accomplish quests, do all of that, and a variety of different play modes. There's teams, there's not teams, I believe there's solo as well, 1 to 6 players, yep, there's solo as well, whole bunch of different ways you can dive into Quests and Cannons, coming to Kickstarter September 21st. Next up, we have The Light in the Mist, a tarot puzzle tale. That I don't know anything about this one. This is coming to Kickstarter September 21st, I know that much, but I don't know anything about this. I know they're teaming up. This is like a narrative puzzle adventure game. You now know about as much as I do. They're teaming up with Jack something or other who has done other puzzle games. I don't know about this other than that. It's coming to Kickstarter. So yeah, that. Then we have Legendary Dice Bag Season 2 coming to GameFound from Draw Lab Games. I've covered their, they have a few things. They have both games and then they have accessory lines. So they have their coin line, which they've had 4 or 5 Kickstarters for. They have their dice bags, which is their second Kickstarter for. And then they have their actual board games as well. They had the abstract game, they had Fire It Up, they had a bunch of games, and that's going to be what we have there. As far as this is going to be their dice bags. I will be covering this as well I have a monthly upgrades video. I'll be showcasing some of these dice bags in my next monthly upgrades video. Thing to be wary of is these are going to be dice bags that range, $5 to $10 a piece, depending on what you're getting, how many you're getting, all of that. So you have to be interested in these. That said, I've actually used them and really enjoy them, although let's talk about this more in my monthly upgrades video when I go over them. But yeah, that's going to be coming to GameFound September 23rd is, I believe, when it's coming. Next up, we have Obscure War, another game that I know nothing about. Coming to Kickstarter September 26th to October 6th over here. We have a nice, beautiful countdown timer. It's going to be a 2 to 4 player game, 90 minutes, 14 plus miniatures game, and deck building. That's all the information I could really find about this game. I tried going through their Facebook page, their Instagram. I couldn't find any more information about what this game is. This is bringing to you a very gothic kind of vibe to it, like Lasting Tales from Blacklist Games, like Nightfall. Who played Nightfall? Raise your hand if you played the Nightfall deck building game. That's an older one. That was actually simultaneously really good, but not developed to the point that it should have been. This is now a tangent about Nightfall, but I wish Nightfall had been a better game, if that makes sense. It was really good. I just wanted to be slightly better, but I really enjoyed it when I did play it. But either way, this is going to be Obscure War. I don't know anything else about this game just yet, so that's going to be that's that. Next up, we have Studio Midhall. Studio Midhall, welcome to Studio Midhall. I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm just instinctively saying what shows up on my screen. This is why you shouldn't use a teleprompter. I'm just like, Studio Midhall, the game, that. This is going to be Beast, which is a game I've talked about. I talked about with Jeremy Howard in the upcoming Kickstarters I'm excited about. This is one that I have played. I've really enjoyed this one. This is going to be a hidden movement game of the hunters versus the beast, and there's going to be a variety of beasts, each one bringing their own spin to the puzzle, a spin to the way you have to play the game. Overall, the Beast is a very intriguing game, very well done if you like hidden movement as a genre. If you haven't played hidden movement games, you should look into them. They are very rewarding, although I've heard good things about Mind Management as well, which recently hit retail. That was on Kickstarter, but it's now available to actually get your hands on, and I think it's available. It might be sold out. I don't actually know. But either way, side tangent, Beast is one that is coming to Kickstarter on September 28th. Next up, we have Drop Dive. Another September 28th launch. Drop Dive is going to be from the same company that brought you some Phase Shift games, who brought you Dungeon Drop. And Drop Dive is not the same thing. Using the same mechanic, to be sure, the same central premise of dropping down a whole bunch of cubes onto a board and then trying to figure out the game around those. So you just drop everything onto the board. Maybe you have the enclosed walls, the mat, whatever. But then from there, this is going to be more of a pick up and deliver of a building up your spaceship and trying to manipulate there. So it seems to be elevating the level of the game. It is a notch. If you thought Dungeon Drop was a bit too light, which I enjoyed Dungeon Drop, but it was a bit too light. But Drop Drive. Sorry, I'm just having trouble saying that. Drop Drive seems to be escalating a bit in terms of the complexity of what it's bringing to the table, but it is still that central premise of dropping things onto the table, which is both simultaneously very interesting and engaging and also a little gimmicky. So we'll see how this one actually plays out, but this is coming to Kickstarter September 28th. Next up, we have Battle for Goldenstar. Now, this one I don't have a date on when it's coming to Kickstarter. I just know that it's coming to Kickstarter in September at some point, I believe. This is going to be a Kickstarter that did, unfortunately, fail to fund, and this is the reboot. They renamed it. They're deluxifying all the art. This is going to be from the same company that brought you Enchanted or Enchanters? Enchanters, that card game, you know, that's going to be from Gindie Games. But overall, Battle for Goldenstar, this is one that I have coverage of the original game up on my campaign. This is slightly different. They slightly changed the rules, but the bigger change is primarily to the, I believe they made changes to the 2-player mode, as well as changes to the art and the general production. I mean, the game looks significantly better than it did when I had it on my table. They just really made everything pop a lot more there. That's going to be Battle for Goldenstar coming, I believe, in September. Next up, we have Tickle Bear Games. This is going to be Somewhere Under the Rainbow. Somewhere Under the Rainbow is going to be coming again sometime in September. I don't have a firm date for this one, but this is like it sounds. It's going to be a game about gathering, collect. I mean, this is what it says: collect unicorn poop, make rainbows, and then prepare unicorn food. You're feeding into that endless cycle of the unicorn poop rainbow food trio, which we've all heard so much about. But this is going to be this is an interesting one. It seems to be kid focused, but the game is actually just complex enough that it's probably older kid focused. If not, maybe it's not even kid focused. I don't know. I think it is, because it does. I mean, the theme alone should make it kid focused to a degree. But either way, this is going to be one. It honestly reminds me of Unicorn Fever, where you look at the game and you're like, this is very much a kid's game, but the game is actually complex enough to not just be a kid's game, and that's the way I feel about Somewhere Under the Rainbow. It is a complex enough game that it might be kid plus, if that makes sense. But overall, this is going to be one that you're going to be navigating your bees around the forest to collect these various beautiful acrylic tiles. This is one that I will have coverage on. I've played it both with my wife and with my daughter, so it is that kid plus range, but I mean, that's not to say my wife's at kid plus, that's meant to say my daughter's at kid plus. Either way, Somewhere Under the Rainbow coming to Kickstarter at some point in September, I believe. And then next up, we have one that this one should have been covered earlier, but I don't think this is coming in September, but it might be coming in September, so I'm saying it just in case. This is going to be Mythwind. Mythwind is going to be a game that was at one point coming September 13th. I do not believe it currently is, but I haven't received official confirmation either way, so I'm throwing it into this video just in case so you can be informed. But Mythwind is one that you should be paying attention to. It's going to be a cooperative asymmetric game, so it's going to have that root, or that, I mean, root is always what people think of when you say asymmetric, but it's going to be compared to root, but it's going to be cooperatively focused. I don't know much more about the gameplay past that, but if it's coming to Kickstarter September 13th, then pay attention and follow this page with the other 8,000 people who are following this page. And if it's not coming to Kickstarter September, well then great, we'll have more time to find out more information so I can talk about it better in the next video that I do. And then lastly, one that is definitely not coming to Kickstarter September 13th is going to be September 13th. One that is not coming to Kickstarter in September is going to be Magical Friends and How to Summon Them. Magical Friends and How to Summon Them is going to be coming to Kickstarter in October. So why am I talking about this now? Because this is one that doesn't actually have much of a following yet. It doesn't seem to have built up that audience, that Facebook group, and the community around the game. I've seen a little bit about the game, but not a lot, but it's one that I think you should be paying attention to, and I'm specifically calling it out because it's one that I personally would look at the box and write off as not worth paying attention to. I am very much someone who judges things very much by the cover, by the art, whether it appeals to me, and the art, personally speaking, looks fine, but it doesn't appeal to me. So because the art doesn't appeal to me, because I would have written it off as whatever, it's one that I do want to call attention to. In fact, it's similar to Three Tail in the way I look at it. Three Tail is one that I talked about in prior months as a game that's coming to Kickstarter in August. It's coming to Kickstarter in August, right? It is, yeah. In August. And Three Tail is one that the art didn't pull me in there either. It's beautiful, but it has an appeal, but not one to me personally. And Three Tail is one that I've really been enjoying. I will have coverage on this game. I think I just actually put my review up on Saturday, so you can check that out. This one's coming to Kickstarter. Three Tail is coming to Kickstarter, I believe, tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, like Three Tail before, I'm hoping that Magical Friends surprises me. I need more plays of it to see where it goes, but I'm hoping it continues to surprise me. It's one that I would be paying attention to, and which why I'm just letting you know now. I will be talking about it as well when I do my video for upcoming Kickstarters for October. I just wanted to get that ball rolling now. And that is basically going to be everything. Once again, let's just pop back to Shelf Clutter over here. Once again, a reminder to subscribe to Shelf Clutter if you want those weekly updates. Things like finding out if Mythwind is or isn't coming to Kickstarter September 13th, because I have no idea yet, and I'm waiting to hear back from them before filming this video. So we'll find out. We'll find out together, I guess, when we watch Shelf Clutter, or just when we pay attention to Kickstarter. In any case, and as always, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this extensive amount of stuff that is coming to Kickstarter in September, and it likely will only grow. As usual, whatever we see now, whatever I show you in these videos, is only a small subset, well, not a small subset, but it's only a subset of what will actually end up being on Kickstarter or GameFound, just the nature of finding things developing as people add or change or adjust or whatever it is. Until next time, I'm Alex. I think I said that already. I'll do it again. Until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.